Welcome back to the Off the Bar podcast. My name's Ben. I'm joined by Brandon today, and we're going to be talking about the NBA's awards. So we're going to get just right into it, actually.
Right.
So let's talk about Executive of the Year. Brandon, what are your thoughts?
So Executive of the Year, I think really goes down to how their offseason has played out. I think it's going to now have the factor of pre-bubble and post-bubble. Given the fact that if their team could withstand pre- and post-bubble, I'm going to give it to Sam Presti of the Oklahoma City Thunder. I definitely feel like he's built a team around Chris Paul and adding additional young pieces like a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, trying to incorporate more Mohamed Diallo. Definitely having Steven Adams have a good year, adding Gallinari. And I feel like, they're a surprise team, and you can chalk it up to the leadership of Chris Paul and the coaching of Billy Donovan. I think it's also it's going to be attributed to the fact that they got 7 first-round picks for Paul George. And I think that's pretty incredible given the fact that, and they still have a pretty good roster around them. And I think they even got more, or they got a few from the Russell Westbrook trade, or they swapped picks from the Russell Westbrook trade. And given the fact that they've lost an Oklahoma City icon, pretty much since James Harden leaving, and they've seen their roster rotate and all that kind of stuff, and seeing trades that worked and that didn't work. Looking at the Oladipo and Sabonis trade in particular, I think it's just fair to say that Sam Presti kind of won this offseason and kind of made a bounce back in terms of Oklahoma City's production and what they'll be able to do on the court, as well as looking ahead in the future. And I think it's definitely bright in Oklahoma.
Okay. Do you think there's another candidate? Because personally, I think the World Hunter has to be talked about here. I think Pat Riley, to get an all-star in the team for probably the 7 cents he found in his car that morning.
Right.
He deserves to be talked about, especially at the end where he swings a trade for Jay Crowder and Andre Iguodala. Now, Andre Iguodala has had an impact.
Don't forget about Solomon Hill.
Well, I want to forget about Solomon Hill.
Okay.
But, he swings that trade, and Andre Iguodala, even though he hasn't had the stats, he's had a pretty good, his plus-minus has been really good. Jay Crowder's come off the bench and been a really good rotation player. Do you think there's any chance that he wins it?
Yeah, I think so too. I think if you looked at how he's been able to turn around a cap-strapped Miami Heat team, definitely getting rid of some locker room toxic and Hassan Whiteside and bringing in pieces like a Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, a Kendrick Nunn, you alluded to the trade earlier. I believe that, Pat Riley, you could make a case for Pat Riley or Andy Ellisberg, one of those two, to win Executive of the Year for sure, just because now Miami are in pole position to be a contender. I feel like not only in this free agency, which we know hasn't really been, isn't really as exciting as 2021's, but,
right.
There's still a couple players, maybe like an Anthony Davis that,
they could take a shot at.
They could take okay. If we're alluding to Moby Dick, it would basically be like yeeting the spear at the whale, all right? That Pat Riley's Captain Ahab, and he's just yeeting that spear, that harpoon, from, far out to hit Anthony Davis. But, I think there could be a case for Pat Riley for sure, just because you add an all-star in Jimmy Butler, and you had another all-star in Bam Adebayo, and then you also bring in all these players, and Miami now do believe that they can start becoming one of those serious teams in the East again,
right.
Post Big Three, and definitely and there's definitely a case for Miami to at least be in the Eastern Conference Finals this year.
Yeah, and I think another thing we have to talk about is the fact of, you mentioned they were cash strapped. Now they have, I believe, $30 million.
They do have some cap flexibility because they won't have, they have players on rookie deals and they have players that aren't on big contracts as of yet. That's going to change in 2021 because they're going to have to pay a Duncan Robinson. They're going to have to pay Bam Adebayo. This year they're going to have to decide whether or not to keep Jay Crowder. They do have some flexibility with Iguodala's contract. just because it is a team option so that they can move away from it. I believe Solomon Hill's off the books after this year as well. So it's definitely noteworthy to pay attention to what Miami's able to do. And again, if you get the same level of productivity from a Tyler Hero, who's on a rookie deal, I think honestly, Miami will definitely be a big contender. We also seen them linked to Giannis and Oladipo, Bradley Beal. Players that do fit Miami's roster and Miami's system, and definitely will be able to take them to the next step. I think let's move on to Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
In my opinion, and I'm gonna just say I think it has to be Nick Nurse.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I think Nick Nurse, for especially losing Kawhi and being able to run their offense to Pascal Siakam and still having some maintainability with Serge and Mark dealing with injuries, and again with losing Kawhi, it's definitely been a surprise. I definitely had them lower in my standings than
how they've turned out to be this
year. How
they
turn out to be for sure this year. I definitely believe you could, again, if we're going to go back to Executive of the Year, we definitely could,
throw in Masai Ujiri, yeah.
Well, yeah, Masai Ujiri for kind of trying to still build a team post Kawhi. And then, again, I attributed a bit Billy Donovan for being able to coach Oklahoma to being one of the surprise teams this year. Again, Eric Spoelstra, you mentioned, Eric Spoelstra. I think Taylor Jenkins from Memphis is also another good shout. Again, I think you have to look at Mike Budenholzer again, maybe a Frank Vogel for definitely maybe a Doc Rivers, just because there are big names and they also have been able to kind of lead their teams as well. Maybe even a Rick Carlisle if you want to throw his name out there. But for sure, I think Nick Nurse it should be Coach of the Year.
Yeah, almost without question, I think.
Right.
So let's move on to Rookie of the Year.
Right.
And I want to start talking about this first. It's going to be Ja Morant, but I don't think it should be even close with Zion. I know Zion's has an impact, but what, he played 14 games?
Right, yes.
There's no way. I think Kendrick Nunn probably has a better shot than Zion. And I know that the turnaround has been immense and he's played insanely well, but he's played 14 games.
Right, and I think it's just been the hype around Zion. I think a lot of people are still basing their belief on the hype of Zion. And yes, has he been tremendous those the few games that he's played? Yes. And will it be Ja Morant? Absolutely. Just because Ja Morant has, I think, almost single-handedly led, not single-handedly, but he has had some help leading a Memphis team to an ace seed. Alongside Brandon Clark, and just being able to really show that Memphis is going past that grit and grind era to now more of a pace and space and a more fluid offense besides a Zach Randolph and a Mike Conley and a Marc Gasol really trying to bully people in the paint. I think it's also, yes, it's going to come off with a little bit of bias that yes, Kendrick Nunn should be in that discussion as well. I mean, he's been killing it for an undrafted rookie.
Right.
I think a lot of people didn't really expect this out of Kendrick Nunn. I think people first turned their eyes to Kendrick Nunn, obviously in the Summer League, and especially that preseason game where he dropped 40 against the Rockets.
Right.
I definitely believe that Kendrick Nunn is going to be an offensive factor for the Miami Heat later down the road in his career. It's going to have to be Ja. If you asked me at the beginning of the season, and if you asked up until maybe the midway point of the season before the All-Star break, and even a little bit before the All-Star break, I would have said Kendrick, just for the fact that he was killing it. He could go. He's averaging 15, 16 a game, but he could go off for 20 plus.
Yeah, he had one of the quietest 36 points games I've ever seen.
Right. I think you can, but I think once Ja really took it up a notch, and people started noticing Ja and what he's been able to do with the Memphis Grizzlies, I think for sure it goes to Ja Morant. And again, with Zion, not to knock him, but I think there's still the hype and of the phenom that could be Zion, right?
Yeah.
And I still feel like the media are still pushing that narrative. Oh, this is Zion. This is going to be the next best thing. This is going to be the next Jordan, the next LeBron, the next Bird. The next one up.
Yeah.
Right? It's the next person that is going to take the mantle of face of the NBA, and I still believe that that's throwing a little bit of a factor in there as well. You want to move on to sixth man of the year?
Yeah, and I think I've said this kind of before, and not before, but off the podcast. It seems to be almost every year that it's Lou Williams to lose, but he has good competition this year.
Right, and I definitely think if you look at maybe a Dennis Schroeder from Oklahoma, Montrezl Harrell, as another one that's been also thrown around. Lou Williams is definitely, obviously a contender. I think another one should be Goran Dragic.
Yeah.
For sure. He's been averaging 16 points per game coming off the bench, and honestly, I think he's been a key reason as to why Miami has been able to be as successful as he is, because he's providing that spark off the bench and also in close games as well, being able to provide that veteran leadership. He wasn't a one-time All-Star with the Miami Heat, and I definitely believe that he has been a big factor as to why. I think another one could be Derrick Rose. I'm trying to think who else, but those guys, I do believe it could be Goran, but it's definitely Lou Williams to lose.
Yeah, I think it's always been Lou Williams to lose. I think there was a shout last year that when he won it that Dwayne Wade should have got it, but no, it's going to be Lou Williams to lose all the time. Moving on, I think we're now going to talk about something that may be a little biased to us. Most improved player.
Right.
Now, let me explain to you why it's not Brandon Ingram or why it's not Luka Doncic. Most improved player means also the hype around the player. Brandon Ingram didn't have a bad season last year. He wasn't terrible. Luka Doncic was one of the greatest players last year. Was in top 15 last year.
Right.
So you're going to take those two into consideration. Brandon Ingram didn't have a bad year last year, but he had to play with LeBron, and they play in basically the same kind of... They play both small forward.
They were playing him at the 2, and that's not his position. It's a small forward. It's pretty much LeBron took the small forward role from him.
Yeah. So, of course he's going to play well when he's in his position, and he's going to be the first guy to shoot. Bam Adebayo. I know this is total bias, and I don't care if it sounds total bias. Bam Adebayo went from being the backup to Hassan Whiteside. In one season, went from being the backup to Hassan Whiteside to being the starter against Hassan Whiteside, not averaging really that much, to a all-star vote, to an all-star. And that wasn't even in contention. Like, Bam Adebayo should be and was an all-star.
Right. No, he has had a phenomenal year, and I definitely believe if Miami, in the NBA where now duos are more considered the norm now, the parity of the NBA. Yes, it's Jimmy the first person. It's the first option. Yes, but I think people have realized that Bam is definitely a second option and a second star for the Miami Heat. And I have to agree that Bam should get it. Yes, Brandon Ingram went from not really fitting in with the Lakers after LeBron joined, and not really having a good. His rookie year was alright. His second and third year were a little bit better, and then this year definitely taken off, averaging 23, 24 points per game with the Pelicans. Definitely, it's also the hype with Zion as well. With the team on paper looks tremendous. The potential is there, so I can see why. Doncic, I believe, could make a contention for it just because. He's going from a Rookie of the Year to a MVP type level of play. I mean, it's still been a little bit consistent throughout the...
Yeah, it wasn't like it was this extreme jump for something like an Adebayo.
Right, it's not, but it's been, it's been still a steady incline, and one of the improvements from his game has definitely been able to play off his left hand and play off his ball dominant hand. I think another one you have to say is Devontae Graham from the Charlotte Hornets. I definitely he went from pretty much not playing at all to like now killing it for the Hornets.
No, and I'm laughing because imagine how bad the year they had, how bad a couple years they've had, and they win an award. I understand he's been incredible for them, but it's almost
right. And I do believe that record is going to play. Record has always played a factor.
That's why Devin Booker didn't get into the All-Star immediately.
Right, records always played a factor in terms of how players get placed, and all NBA teams and all rookie teams and all that kind of stuff, and All Stars for sure. And Devontae Graham, it's unfortunate, but if he was on, I don't know,
maybe even a middling team, not
right.
even like
if
an
he was on
team.
Indiana, I think he would get higher voting.
Yeah,
just because. The work that I think the offensive load that he would have taken over for Oladipo's absence, if they didn't sign Brogdon for sure, but yeah, I see it as Bam just because the jump that he's had from his rookie year to now, and it's been incredible, and he definitely has shown why he is deserving of a big contract extension, and definitely as to why he deserves this award. I guess now you want to move on to what's next.
I believe it's most valuable player.
It is most valuable player.
Okay. All right. So let's just look at.
Remember if I forgot one.
All right. So let's just look at the 5 that has rounded out. Now, first of all, I want to say Jimmy Butler doesn't get the respect he deserves. He should be in this 5 because because you look at what most valuable player means. If you take him out of the team, do you really believe that they're going to succeed? If you take Jimmy out of that team, they don't succeed. And I think if you take
they don't succeed to a degree of being competitive in the East. If you keep him, obviously yes. If you put him in a team, he's going to be great. But yeah, if you take Jimmy out, Miami's still competitive in the East, I believe. So, I don't know. I just have to disagree with you on that one. Jimmy Butler definitely should be up there for maybe a couple percentage points, but not anything too crazy.
No, I know that. I'm not saying he is, but I'm saying, the main kind of change to that team was Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
He comes into the team. I don't think there's anyone that can fill that void on Miami.
Yeah.
I mean, Bam's played well, but he's not average. He's not being that glue that holds them together.
Right.
And that's what I was saying. It wasn't so that they weren't going to be contending. Of course, they're going to still play well, but not to the heights that they've played now.
Okay. In my opinion, for most valuable player, I think a lot of people are looking at Giannis to repeat. I think they're looking at Harden's numbers. I think they're looking at the leadership of Chris Paul. They're looking at Doncic, and I think there's maybe a case for Jimmy Butler, or you can make a case for Trae Young, a case for Pascal Siakam, even for Dame or a Bradley Beal, right? You can make a case for those two. In my opinion, it's got to be LeBron.
And why do you say that?
It's got to be LeBron. It's just he has in his 17th year. He has put up numbers that honestly are incredible for the fact that he's doing it at such a high level as well. I mean, yes, it's the bounce back of you didn't make the playoffs. You didn't make the playoffs the season before, and now you have Anthony Davis. Now you have pieces around you that could work. So now you go ahead and you're now the 1 seed in the East, and the West. I'm sorry. You could make that I'm gonna make that argument that LeBron deserves to get it. He's averaging the most assists he's averaged in his career with 10 assists or close to 10 assists. He's still averaging 24, 25 points per game. And he's doing it with a great role of character, with a great role of guys, and I definitely believe that he deserves it. And it's gonna be, if it's gonna be based off a record, I just believe that LeBron. I think it's gonna come down to the finals because it's probably gonna be a Milwaukee Lakers final, And I think it's good. If you're gonna say Giannis, it's gonna depend on who wins that final series. Because if the Lakers win it, it's gonna be LeBron. If Milwaukee wins it, it's gonna be Giannis.
Okay, let me ask you this question. This is a genuine question. Who has a better team?
In terms of overall, in terms of players surrounding the star player, I would still have to say the Lakers over Milwaukee. I mean, I know Milwaukee has, Pat Connaughton, the Lopez twins. Giannis has Chris Middleton by his side, Eric Bledsoe, George Hill. In my opinion, Dante DaVinci, who's finally come into his form, I've been kind of like hyped about that as well. In my opinion, I think the Lakers have a better roster. Anthony Davis, LeBron, Avery Bradley, Rondo, Caruso, Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, Danny Green. In my opinion, not that they're much better players, but I feel like they are more suited for that team rather than the other way around.
Okay. So you believe that the Lakers have a better team than the Milwaukee Bucks?
Right.
So if you take Giannis out of that team, do they have a chance to win? Do they have a chance of contending the East? Do they have a solid chance of contending the East, getting out of the East, and getting into the finals?
No. Chris Middleton can't do it on his own, and Eric Bledsoe has declined in production over the season, and there was also even trade rumors for him to leave, so because Mike Budenholzer wasn't happy with his production. So no, no, Giannis doesn't. If you take Giannis, it doesn't work.
Now, I'm already going to assume your answer to my next question, which would be, is Anthony Davis better than Chris Middleton? Which is an obvious yes.
Yes.
And no knock to Chris Middleton. Dude's an all-star. He's been playing extremely well. But
Anthony Davis is a top 5 player.
Yeah. So, to make the case for LeBron is to basically say, yeah, he's had a good season assist-wise, but he has Anthony Davis.
Right.
He has Danny Green, who, fine. He's a streaky shooter, but the guy can shoot. He has a better team around him scoring-wise. I
think defensively too, Dwight Howard has definitely stepped up his numbers. Not towards Orlando Dwight Howard, the freak averages of like multiple blocks per game and 12 plus rebounds a game. But I definitely feel like JaVale and Dwight have definitely stepped up defensively, and Anthony Davis has always been a force defensively. I think that's always been an obvious candidate.
Right. Okay. So, using that logic and using the idea behind most valuable player, yes, it has to go to Giannis. And I'm not saying that because Giannis won it last year and he's played incredibly well this year. Not only is Giannis arguably the best player in the league.
Okay.
Not only is Giannis the best, not only is Giannis the only reason why Milwaukee will ever be contending.
Okay.
He's also in the race for Defensive Player of the Year, which we didn't talk about, which we'll talk about in a little bit. He could even make a case that last year he could have gotten Most Improved, which I don't think that he should even come close to Most Improved last year, but he can make a case for it. He's averaged incredible numbers this year, and I think, and to your credit, LeBron does deserve it. He had this massive push at the end of the season before it stopped, to get that kind of notoriety that he was kind of he was in that conversation. However, you take Giannis out of that team and they don't play well. And I think if you look at LeBron's numbers, sure they could probably, especially the assists, they probably look better. But the impact that Giannis has had on that team, I think if you take LeBron out, Anthony Davis is going to step up. We've seen that happen in New Orleans, especially when, they had DeMarcus Cousins, but even when DeMarcus Cousins was out, they still swept, I forgot which team, but they swept the team. They took, I think, Golden State to 5 or 6 games.
Right.
So you could see that someone would step up. I think that team would still probably be good in the West. So I think, personally, it has to go to Giannis.
Right, but if you're with that logic, I think you also with the logic of All right, you take Trae Young out of the Hawks. Like, are they contenders? And no,
Well, they're not contenders now. That's
right,
different.
Fine. You take, I don't know. You take. Actually, no. Boston is a good example. You take Siakam out of Toronto. Are they contenders?
Knowing Masai Ujiri, they probably would do some incredible trade. But yeah, it does make that point as well. But you also have to look at the numbers as well. It's not like Giannis is so far off LeBron's numbers.
Right. I mean, if you're also gonna, if you want to do this again, Jokic. If you take Jokic out of Denver,
Denver has a good team without Jokic.
you think so?
Yeah.
I mean, Jamal Murray.
Yes. Sorry, just thinking about the video.
Okay, well, Flight calls them a bunch of scrubs.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. No, for sure.
Hey, if they had Flight on that team, easy championship contenders.
Shut up. Jesus Christ. Listen, if you're gonna go by that logic, you can pretty much say, take out. I think any team besides the Celtics,
But the thing is, would it be? And I know it would be a drastic difference, but would it be more of a drastic difference to put Giannis on another team than the Bucks than it would for LeBron? Because if you take LeBron off, they're still good. They're still a really good team.
Yeah,
they're still on the upper half side of on the table.
But I think it just shows that LeBron just makes them better, and I think that's also the case for Giannis. But it just shows that LeBron has put so much work in, and has shown that he could still kill it, and he could still be dominant, and the fact that he could really push for a fifth MVP, and to really, in my opinion, yes, will Giannis win another one? Absolutely. Will LeBron probably win another one before he retires? Yes. However, it has to be LeBron this year, just because of the fact that he has stepped up the Lakers' level of play. Yes, with acquisitions as well, but also his game by averaging the 10 assists, by being more productive defensively, by being able to be that point forward that he kind of wanted to be last year but couldn't. Yes, you put Giannis in that team. Yes, you take Giannis out of the Bucks. Are they going to be bad? Yes. I mean, not bad. Are they not going to be as competitive as they are now? Absolutely. And I think there was some statistics that showed that when Giannis isn't on the court, the Bucks aren't scoring more efficiently when Giannis is on the court, which I think it should be the same thing with LeBron. And I think it's also given the fact that, listen, LeBron couldn't do it without Anthony Davis. If LeBron went into the same roster this year as he did last year, would he get it? No, but I just believe it's going to go to LeBron just because of the fact that he's leveled his game to another level, while Giannis it's been more steady. If you go from last year to this year, it's been a little bit more steady. Sure, defensively, he's been killing it. But LeBron has stepped up his level of play, and it has transitioned to more of a point forward rather than being, the main scorer that we saw him in Cleveland and Miami and then Cleveland again. He doesn't have to be that main scorer. Now he has a second guy. Giannis does have to be that main scorer. And I think it just attributes to the fact that LeBron is still the more well-rounded athlete. And I think we've seen that as more apparent this year than any other year. And yes, will Giannis, because I do believe that Giannis can be that well-rounded athlete. However, LeBron just right now takes it to a whole new level. And yeah, I just believe that's why he's an MVP.
No, I understand that. And look, the fact that it's year 17, and those pictures went viral a couple days ago with the Lakers that they posted his physique. The fact it's year 17 is gonna go in his favor.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, even if you look at win shares with Giannis, it's 10.5 to 9.1 in favor of Giannis. If you look at I'm sure the PER is close, but if you look at just, you talk about it. LeBron last year, I know LeBron's last year versus LeBron this year is totally different.
Right.
Because he's finally gotten a break from the playoffs. He's been able to rest. But the fact that you have Giannis, who makes the team so much better. And I think that's different. I know what you might be saying, well, if you take Jimmy Butler out of the team, they won't be the same thing. If you take Pascal out of the team, they won't be the same team. But it's different when you're talking about a title contender. Do I think Miami's going to contend for the title this year? No. Do I think Toronto's going to contend for the title this year? No. It's different when it comes to a title contender. The fact that one guy makes them from title contenders to probably not even top 5 seed, to close to you can make the argument that they won't be a top 5 seed in the East. That's the difference. Because if you take LeBron out of that Lakers team, Anthony Davis would step up. You have guys. You have a good bench that would step up. And I'm not saying that there isn't a good bench on the Bucks. I'm saying the fact that Giannis has to be that first scorer, the fact that Giannis has to be that first kind of line of defense, that line of play, the fact that Giannis has been the defensive player of the year, or has been in the talk for defensive player of the year, it goes to show how much he's impacted this team, and I think that kind of goes in his favor. And yeah, look, LeBron, should he deserve another title this year? Yeah, not only a title because they'll probably win this year, but should he deserve kind of the recognition that he's gotten? Yeah. It's funny but statistically he's been underpaid by the Lakers. But you just kind of look at the impact that Giannis has on that team. Because, you brought up the Lopez brothers. Robin doesn't do anything. No, not Robin. Brooke doesn't do anything. Robin's fine, the starting center, but he's not, if you go toe-to-toe, I'd probably take JaVale McGee over Robin. Because JaVale McGee has played incredibly well for these past couple of years, especially from where he was. You look at kind of the point guard situation, Eric Bledsoe, I mean, is he better than Rondo and Bradley? Probably, but it's not by that much. I think if you look at it position by position, the Lakers have a better team. They will probably do better. And yes, LeBron takes them to that championship side. But the Lakers would still be a good team in the West, which is known to be incredibly harder than the East. But if you look at Giannis, you take him out of that team. Middleton's not a reliable superstar. Middleton's a great player, but he's not a reliable first player. He's not someone that you can go, that's our best player, he's going to lead us to a championship. Giannis is. Giannis is definitely. You look at Anthony Davis as a second guy, I think if he had a good cast around him, he can lead a team to a championship. I think if the team played to his strengths, they can lead the team to a championship. I think that's the case you make with Giannis. Giannis is the guy that takes him from not contending at all, not even like 0% chance of contending, to the best team in the league. And I think when you look at LeBron, you look at the Lakers, you go from they're not really contending as well, but they're sort of there because you have AD, who's a top 5 player, to straight to second best team in the league.
I'm just going to make this one point about the Lakers, and then we're going to move on to Defensive Player of the Year and wrap up the video. In my opinion, the Lakers without LeBron this year, aren't a top 3 seed in the West. I think it just goes to show the level of play. I think the Jazz are better without if LeBron wasn't on the Lakers. I think definitely the Clippers and the Nuggets are better. You can even make a case for the Thunder and the Rockets at the level of play they've been playing at this year. In my opinion, the Lakers aren't as good of a team without LeBron. And yes, that's kind of proving to your point about Giannis, but I just believe that LeBron just takes them to that next step, into that next level, and really pushes them into that title contending team. Right? And yes, does Giannis do that the same? Absolutely, but I think it's also about the overall player and about the overall, how they've been overall throughout the season. Has Giannis improved assist-wise? Oh, for sure. Is Giannis probably going to win Defensive Player of the Year? Well, we'll get into that, but I'm just going to let you know, I think yes.
We can wrap the video up here.
No, but I just feel like the Lakers aren't as good of a team without LeBron that I think people are looking at them as. And I feel like if it wasn't without LeBron, this could be better. This could be another New Orleans situation for Anthony Davis, where they're trying to build an okay roster around Anthony Davis, trying to just fill holes and fill gaps when they can, and still trying to be a bit competitive, and hopefully playing in the free agency market or in hopefully a trade like they try to do with DeMarcus Cousins. But that's all I'm gonna say. I think let's move on to defensive player of the year.
Yes, the most important one, because we didn't forget it. We made sure that this would be the last one.
So like I said, I think Giannis could win it. Is probably in most contention to win it. Like, I don't know, Giannis, and I'm getting a little bit tired. Giannis just been killing it defensively.
Yeah, I think Bam should be a little bit higher, but yeah, I agree. Giannis, I mean, and I hate to pull the PR thing, but there's no way they're gonna give it to Rudy Gobert. I mean, and I hate to pull that PR thing, but there's just no way. He's, especially what's happened, what he did. I won't say what he did, but he was the first one to do it. He was the one that was making jokes about the virus, and then he gets it. I think it's got to be Giannis this year. I think Bam should probably get a little bit higher, just because he played Giannis extremely well. He's defended every position extremely well. So I think personally that's it. I think that's really it, but I think it's Giannis's to lose.
Yeah, for sure. Giannis is averaging close to, hold on, I have the numbers here, 13.7 rebounds, so almost 14 points per game, 2.3 offensive rebounds per game. I think that's just incredible. 1 steal and 1 block per game. So, defensively, he's, I don't think, as efficient as a Rudy Gobert, because Rudy Gobert does offer multiple blocks and probably a little bit more in rebounds.
Yeah.
However, I think politically and what's going on with Rudy Gobert, I think it's going to deter him. But I think it's also the fact that Giannis did step up defensively this year for the Bucks, being a good solid anchor when he's on the court for them, and I don't think it's a no-brainer. I think you can throw a Patrick Beverly in there if you wanted to, maybe a Kawhi, a Ben Simmons, an Andre Drummond if you wanted to, but I think honestly it's gonna go down to Giannis.
Yeah, and I think it's Giannis is really to win. I think it's really. I mean, you can throw other names in there, but I think that's really it. So, do you want to just go over to make sure that we got everything? So, right. I think executive, you said Sam Presti. I'm going to say Pat Riley should win it.
Six man, we both agree on that it was going to be Lou Williams to lose, even though there could be, like a Derrick Rose or Goran Dragic that could push to win it. Defensive player of the year, we both said Giannis. Most improved, we both said Bam with a little bit of bias. Rookie of the year.
Okay.
Rookie of the year, we both said Ja.
And we hammered home the fact that Ja should be the clear-cut winner.
Right.
There shouldn't be any kind of Zion, he only played a couple games. Ja's improving it over the year. So
Coach of the year, we both said Nick Nurse.
Yeah, I mean, Eric Spoelstra can be talked in it, but I think Nick Nurse is definitely...
Right, and Billy Donovan is another one that you can throw in there. Frank Vogel, to that degree. And then MVP, this is where we have the big dispute. I said LeBron, you said Giannis. Tomato, potato, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Thank y'all for listening in. If you like what you heard, make sure to check us out on Instagram and Twitter. Links will be in the description. If you want to debate what we said, if you have any qualms about what we said, or we have any differences, let us know in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. We'll be posting probably daily, which is
maybe even twice a day, because honestly we got videos out the wazoo.
But again, like what you heard, like, subscribe, and thank you so much.